The coffee machine made its familiar sound as Lucy Grant stood by the window of the small outpost. Outside, the twin suns of the Velar system were rising over the rocky landscape. It was another quiet morning at Station 14, a monitoring post so far from anything important that most people forgot it existed. Lucy was 19 years old, and 6 months into her training rotation. She had requested this assignment specifically because it was boring. She wanted time to think, time to read, time to be alone with her thoughts and her companion Dot in the corner of the main room. Brutus lay on his reinforced bed. He was 800 pounds of muscle and armored hide, a Terran warhound bred from the ancient mastiff lines of Earth. His eyes were closed, but Lucy knew he was not truly sleeping. He was always aware, always listening. The coffee machine finished its work. Lucy poured herself a cup and took a long sip. It was the one luxury she had brought from Earth. Real coffee beans, grown in the hills of Colombia, shipped across half the galaxy just so she could have a taste of home. Her communication panel lit up with an incoming message. Commander Kevin Park's face appeared on the screen. He was stationed at the main base, 3 systems away, and checked in every morning. "Good morning, Cadet Grant," he said. "Anything to report?" "Nothing, sir." "Quiet night. The usual traffic on the shipping lanes." Park nodded. "We had a refugee transport come through your sector around 0300. They dropped off a passenger for asylum processing. A young Velari female. She should be arriving at your station within the hour." Lucy raised an eyebrow. Refugees were usually processed at larger stations. "Why here, sir?" "The transport was in a hurry. They said she needed to be somewhere safe as quickly as possible. Your station was the closest human jurisdiction." Park paused. "Her name is Shira. Take care of her until we can arrange proper transport." "Understood, sir." The communication ended. Lucy finished her coffee and looked at Brutus. "Looks like we have a guest coming." Brutus opened one eye, looked at her, and closed it again. An hour later, a small shuttle landed outside the station. Lucy watched through the window as a young alien female stepped out. The Velari were a delicate species with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. They were known throughout the galaxy as gentle creatures, artists and musicians who had never developed weapons of war. Shira walked toward the station with her head down. She carried nothing with her. When Lucy opened the door to greet her, she saw that the young alien was trembling. "Welcome to Station 14, Lucy said. "I am Cadet Lucy Grant. You are safe here." Shira looked up at her with those large, dark eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for taking me in." Lucy led her inside. The moment Shira saw Brutus, she froze. Her entire body went rigid with fear. "What is that?" She gasped. "That is Brutus," Lucy said calmly. "He is my companion. He will not hurt you." Shira pressed herself against the wall, unable to take her eyes off the massive creature. "I have never seen anything like him. He is terrifying." Lucy smiled slightly. "He gets that a lot. But I promise you, he is gentle. As long as you mean no harm, he will treat you like family." It took several minutes for Shira to calm down enough to sit at the table. Lucy made her a cup of tea from the station supplies and sat across from her. "The commander said you needed to be somewhere safe quickly," Lucy said. "Do you want to tell me what happened?" Shira's hand shook as she held her cup. "I escaped," she said quietly, "from a terrible place. I do not want to talk about it." Lucy nodded. "You do not have to. You are under human protection now. Whatever you are running from, it cannot touch you here." Shira looked at her with something like hope in her eyes. "You do not understand. The ones who held me, they do not stop. They track their property across the entire galaxy. They have found others who escaped. They always find them." Before Lucy could respond, The station sensors made a soft beeping sound. She stood and walked to the monitoring console. An unregistered ship had just entered the system and was heading toward the planet. "Probably traders avoiding port fees," Lucy said. "We get them sometimes." She watched the ship descend through the atmosphere. It was not a trading vessel. It was sleek and dark, built for speed and combat. The design was unfamiliar to her, but something about it made her uneasy. The ship landed half a kilometer from the station. Lucy watched through the window as the hatch opened and several figures emerged. They were tall and reptilian, with scales that shifted between green and black. They wore armor decorated with strange trophies, and they carried weapons that glowed with plasma energy. In the corner, Brutus stood up slowly. His movement was calm and deliberate, but Lucy knew what it meant. He had sensed something. His growl was so low that it did not make a sound. Instead, it vibrated through the floor panels, a warning that only Lucy could feel through her boots. "Lucy?" Shira whispered from behind her. Lucy turned. The young Valari had gone completely pale. Her dark eyes were wide with pure terror. "Lucy, those are the Kethri. Who are the Kethri?" Shira's voice broke as she answered. "They are the ones I escaped from. They are hunters. They hunt people." She grabbed Lucy's arm with desperate strength. "We have to run. We have to run right now. They have killed entire security teams. They are monsters." Lucy looked out the window. The Kethri were walking toward the station. 5 of them. Their movements were confident and predatory, like animals who had never known fear. She looked at Brutus. He was standing perfectly still, watching the window. His eyes had changed. They were no longer the gentle eyes of a companion. They were the eyes of something ancient and dangerous. Lucy turned back to Shira. "Go to the storage room in the back. Lock the door. Do not come out until I tell you it is safe." "What are you going to do?" Shira asked. Lucy walked to the coffee machine and poured herself another cup. "I am going to finish my coffee." Shira stared at her in disbelief. "Did you not hear me? They will kill you." Lucy took a sip and looked out the window. The hunters were getting closer. "No," she said quietly. "They will not." Shira did not move. She stood frozen in the middle of the room, her eyes moving between Lucy and the window where the Kethri hunters were approaching. "Please," she begged. "Please, you do not understand what they are. I have seen what they do to people. I have seen them hunt sentient beings for sport. They kept me in their breeding camps for 3 years. They, Shira." Lucy's voice was calm but firm. "Go to the storage room, now." Something in her tone finally broke through Shira's panic. The young Valari looked at Lucy one more time, then turned and ran toward the back of the station. Lucy heard the storage room door close and lock. She turned back to the window. The Kethri were almost at the entrance now. She could see their faces clearly. Their reptilian features showed no emotion, but their body language spoke of absolute confidence. They walked like creatures who had never been challenged, like predators who had never met anything they could not kill. Lucy took another sip of her coffee. It was good coffee. She would hate to waste it. Brutus had not moved from his position. He stood in the corner of the room, partially hidden by the shadows. His massive body was completely still. To someone who did not know him, he might have looked like a piece of furniture, a strange statue, something to be ignored. The door to the station opened without warning. The Kethri did not knock. They did not ask permission. They simply walked in as if they owned the place. The leader was taller than the others, with darker scales and a long scar running down the side of his face. He wore more trophies than his companions, bones and teeth and things that Lucy did not want to identify. His plasma lance hung at his side, glowing with deadly energy. He looked at Lucy with yellow eyes that held no warmth. Human, he said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. I am Vexinar of the Kethri Dominion. We have come for our property. Lucy did not move from her position by the coffee machine. This station is under human jurisdiction. You entered without permission. You need to leave. Vexinar made a sound that might have been laughter. Jurisdiction, he repeated. You speak of jurisdiction to me? I have hunted across 100 worlds. I have taken prey from species far stronger than yours. Your jurisdiction means nothing. One of the other hunters stepped forward. He was younger than Vexinar, with eager eyes. She is just a youngling, he said. A soft-skinned child playing soldier. Let us take what we came for and go. The Valari female is under human protection, Lucy said. She has requested asylum. You have no claim here. Vexinar's eyes narrowed. No claim? She is our property. She escaped from our camps. We have tracked her across 6 systems to retrieve her. She belongs to us. People are not property. The hunters laughed. It was an ugly sound, full of contempt. Humans, another hunter said. I have heard stories about them. Weak, soft, they die easily. Hardly worth hunting. I heard one of them begged for mercy when my cousin took him, a 4th hunter added. Cried like a newborn until the end. Vexinar raised his hand to silence them. He studied Lucy with new interest. You are brave, little human. Or perhaps you are simply stupid. Either way, I grow tired of this conversation. He reached for his plasma lance. Step aside, and I will let you live. Resist, and I will add your bones to my collection. Lucy took another sip of her coffee. I already told you. She's under human protection. If you want her, you will have to go through me. The hunters found this very funny. They laughed again, louder this time. Vexinar shook his head slowly. Through you? Child, I have killed warriors twice your size. I have hunted species that could tear you apart with a single claw. You are nothing. You are prey that has not yet learned its place. He raised his plasma lance and pointed it at Lucy's chest. The weapon hummed with deadly energy. Last chance, Softskin. Where's the Valari? Lucy set down her coffee cup. It made a soft sound against the counter. She looked at Vexinar with eyes that held no fear. None at all. You made a mistake coming here, she said quietly. The only mistake was yours. Thinking you could stop us. No, your mistake was not paying attention to the whole room. Vexinar frowned. For the first time, a hint of uncertainty crossed his face. He looked around the station. His eyes moved over the monitoring equipment, the furniture, the windows dot, and then they found the corner. Brutus had not moved. He stood exactly where he had been standing since the hunters entered. But now his eyes were open, and they were looking directly at Vexinar. The hunter's scales seemed to pale. What is that? That is Brutus, Lucy said. He is my companion. Companion? Vexinar's voice had changed. The confidence was gone. Something else had taken its place. That is no companion. That is a... He did not finish his sentence. Because Brutus had begun to move. The warhound stepped out of the shadows. Each step was slow and deliberate. His claws clicked against the metal floor. His eyes never left the hunters. A growl built in his chest, so deep and powerful that the walls seemed to vibrate. 800 pounds of muscle and armored hide. Teeth designed to crush bone. A body built for war by 1,000,000 years of evolution on the deadliest planet in the galaxy. The young hunter who had called Lucy a soft-skinned child stumbled backward. His plasma lance shook in his hands. Vexinar, what is that thing? What is it? Vexinar did not answer. He was staring at Brutus with wide eyes. His mouth moved silently, forming words in the old Kethri language. Words that had not been spoken in generations. Words from the ancient wars. Words that meant bonded death. Lucy picked up her coffee cup again. She took a sip. It had grown cold, but she did not mind. "You should have left when I told you to," she said. And then she spoke a single word. "Brutus." The warhound's eyes changed. The patience vanished. The restraint disappeared. What remained was something ancient and terrible. Something that had been bred into his bloodline since the first. Humans walked the earth. The hunters raised their weapons. They were not fast enough. Brutus moved like nothing his size should be able to move. One moment, he was standing in the corner. The next moment, he was among the hunters, and the first one was already falling. The young hunter who had called Lucy a soft skin did not even have time to scream. Brutus hit him with the full force of 800 pounds, moving at terrible speed. The sound was like a tree breaking. The hunter's plasma lance fired once into the ceiling as he fell, and then he did not move again. The station exploded into chaos. Plasma fire scorched the walls. Furniture shattered. The hunters tried to fight back, but their weapons could not track something that moved so fast. Brutus was not just strong. He was intelligent. He did not charge blindly into their fire. He used the room itself as a weapon, keeping the hunters between himself and their own companions, making them afraid to shoot. Lucy remained at her position by the coffee machine. She watched with calm, detached interest as the battle unfolded. Her heart rate had not increased. Her hands did not shake. She had seen Brutus work before. She knew how this would end. A hunter managed to get a clear shot. The plasma bolt hit Brutus in the shoulder, burning through his outer hide. The warhound did not slow down. He did not even flinch. He simply turned toward the hunter who had shot him and closed the distance before the weapon could fire again. The hunter's scream was short. Vexnar was shouting orders in the Kethri language. His voice had lost all of its earlier confidence. Now it was high and desperate, the voice of a predator who had suddenly become prey. Formation. Hold formation. Target the... He never finished the command. Brutus came at him from the side, forcing him to dive behind an overturned table. The plasma lance clattered across the floor, out of reach. Two hunters made a decision. They ran for the door. They did not try to fight anymore. They did not try to help their leader. They simply ran, their survival instincts overriding everything else. Brutus let them go. For 3 seconds. Then he followed them outside. And the sounds that came next were terrible. Lucy heard them through the walls of the station. Short, sharp screams that ended suddenly. The sound of something heavy hitting the ground. And then silence. Inside the station, only 2 Kethri remained. One was injured and crawling toward the door, leaving a trail of dark blood behind him. The other was Vexnar, pressed against the wall with nowhere to run. The injured hunter looked up at Lucy with desperate eyes. "Please," he gasped. "Call it off. Call it off, and we will leave. We will never return. I swear it." Lucy took a sip of her coffee. "You came here to take a young woman who escaped from your breeding camps. You threatened to kill me and add my bones to your collection. And now you ask for mercy? Please, I have younglings. I have a family. So did the people you hunted." The hunter opened his mouth to say something more, but Brutus returned before he could speak. The warhound walked back into the station slowly. His hide was covered in blood that was not his own. His eyes found the injured hunter on the floor, and he moved toward him with deliberate steps. No, please. The end was quick. Brutus was not cruel. He was simply efficient. Vexnar pressed himself harder against the wall. His yellow eyes were wide with a terror that his species had not felt in generations. The Kethri were hunters. They were predators. They were the ones who caused fear, not the ones who felt it. But now Vexnar understood. Now he knew what his ancestors had known, long ago, when they first encountered the creatures of Earth. Now he understood why the old stories called them bonded death. "The human," he gasped. "I will take the human. She is my hostage. You will let me leave, or I will," he lunged for Lucy. It was a desperate move, the last gamble of a predator with no other options. His clawed hand grabbed her arm. His other hand drew a blade from his belt and pressed it against her throat. "Call off your beast," he hissed. "Call it off, or I will cut her open." Lucy did not struggle. She did not show any fear. She simply looked at Vexnar with something that might have been pity. "That was a mistake," she said. Brutus had stopped moving. He stood in the middle of the ruined station, his eyes fixed on Vexnar and the blade at Lucy's throat. A growl built in his chest, deeper and more powerful than anything before. The walls shook. The remaining furniture vibrated. Small objects fell from shelves. "Tell it to stand down," Vexnar said. His voice was shaking. "Tell it to let me leave, and I will release you unharmed." "He does not negotiate," Lucy said calmly. "The bond does not work that way." "What do you mean?" "I mean that I could not call him off now even if I wanted to. You touched me. You threatened me. In his mind, you are already dead. The only question is how long it takes." Vexinar's grip tightened on the blade. "Then I will kill you. I will kill you, and I will run, and you will not make it 3 steps." The hunter looked at Brutus. The warhound had not moved. He did not need to. His eyes said everything. They were patient and ancient and absolutely certain. They were the eyes of a creature that had been protecting humans since before history began. Since the first campfires. Since the first cold nights when human and hound huddled together against the darkness. Vex single quotes, and AR had hunted across 100 worlds. He had killed prey from dozens of species. He had never known fear. He knew it now. "What do you want?" he whispered. "I want nothing," Lucy said. "I told you to leave. You did not listen. Now it is too late. There must be something. Some bargain. There is no bargain. There is no deal. There is only Brutus." Vexinar looked into the warhound's eyes. He saw his own death reflected there. He saw it clearly, in perfect detail. He saw exactly how it would happen. His blade fell from his hand. It clattered against the floor. "Please," he said. It was barely a whisper. Lucy pulled away from his loosened grip. She walked to the coffee machine and found that her cup was empty. She sighed softly and began making a fresh pot. Behind her, Brutus moved forward. "No," Vexinar said. "No. Wait. Lucy did not turn around. She focused on the coffee machine, listening to its familiar sounds as it worked. It was a good machine, reliable, comforting. The sounds behind her were not comforting, but they were necessary. When the coffee was ready, Lucy poured herself a cup and finally turned around. The station was quiet now. Brutus sat in the middle of the room, his tail wagging slowly. His eyes had changed back to the gentle eyes of a companion. Lucy walked over to him and scratched behind his ears. "Good boy," she said softly. Brutus leaned into her touch. His tail wagged faster. Outside, the twin suns continued to rise over the rocky landscape. It was still a quiet morning at Station 14. Just another day at a monitoring post so far from anything important that most people forgot it existed. Lucy took a sip of her coffee. It was hot and fresh and perfect. She had a report to write. Lucy spent 10 minutes cleaning the worst of the mess before she went to get Shira. Some things, she decided, the young Valari did not need to see. The bodies were moved outside. The blood was wiped from the floors. The broken furniture was pushed into a corner. It was not perfect. The scorch marks on the walls remained. The smell of plasma fire and something worse lingered in the air. But it was better than it had been. She walked to the storage room and knocked gently on the door. "Shira, it is Lucy. You can come out now." There was a long silence. Then the lock clicked and the door opened slowly. Shira's large dark eyes appeared in the gap, filled with fear. "The hunters," she whispered. "The Kethri. Are they? They are gone. They will never hurt anyone again." Shira opened the door wider. She looked past Lucy into the main room of the station. Her eyes found Brutus sitting calmly by the window, his tail wagging as he watched the suns rise higher in the sky. "I do not understand," Shira said. "I heard sounds. Terrible sounds. And now he is just sitting there like a pet." "He is a pet," Lucy said. "He is also a warhound. He is both things at the same time." Shira stepped out of the storage room slowly. She kept her distance from Brutus, pressing against the far wall as she moved. How is that possible? How can something so deadly be so calm? Lucy sat down at the table and gestured for Shira to join her. After a moment of hesitation, the young Valari sat across from her, never taking her eyes off the massive creature by the window. "Do you know anything about Earth?" Lucy asked. Shira shook her head. "Only that it is a death world. A planet so dangerous that most species cannot survive there." "That is true. Earth is full of predators, poisonous creatures, natural disasters, extreme temperatures. Everything on our planet has evolved to kill or be killed." Lucy paused, gathering her thoughts. "But humans did not evolve alone. We evolved alongside other species. Millions of years ago, before we had language, before we had tools, we formed a bond with the ancestors of creatures like Brutus." "A bond?" "Yes, wolves, they were called then. They hunted with us. They protected our children while we slept. They warned us of danger. In return, we shared our food. We gave them shelter. Over thousands of generations, we changed together. They became loyal to us, and we became loyal to them." Shira looked at Brutus with new eyes. "He is descended from these wolves?" "Dogs, we call them now. They come in many forms. Some are small and gentle. Some are large and powerful. Brutus is a Terran warhound, bred from the ancient Mastiff lines. His ancestors guarded human homes and fought beside human soldiers in wars that happened before we reached the stars." "But the bond you speak of, it is not just training?" Lucy smiled slightly. "No, it is not training. It is something deeper, something genetic, something spiritual, if you believe in such things. A bonded pair can sense each other's emotions. They know when the other is in danger. They would die for each other without hesitation." Shira was quiet for a moment, processing this information. "So when the hunters threatened you, Brutus felt it. He knew I was in danger, and he responded the only way he knows how, by killing them all." "Yes," Shira shuddered. "I have never seen anything so terrifying. It moved so fast. The hunters could not even touch him. Earth's predators evolved in a harsh environment. Speed, strength, intelligence. These things were necessary for survival. Brutus is the result of millions of years of that evolution, refined by thousands of years of selective breeding. There is nothing else like him in the galaxy." The communication panel lit up. Commander Park's face appeared on the screen, and he looked worried. "Cadet Grant, we detected weapons fire at your station. We also detected the destruction of an unregistered vessel in your sector. What is happening? Are you under attack?" Lucy stood and walked to the console. "The situation is resolved, sir." "Resolved? What do you mean, resolved?" "Our sensors showed significant plasma discharge. Multiple signatures. A group of Kethri hunters entered the station without permission. They were attempting to capture the refugee under our protection. I asked them to leave. They refused. Park stared at her. You asked them to leave. 5 Kethri hunters. And they refused. Yes, sir. And now the situation is resolved. Yes, sir. There was a long pause. Park's eyes moved to something off-screen. Lucy knew he was looking at the sensor data. The destroyed ship. The energy signatures that told the story of what had happened. Cadet Grant, he said slowly. Are you injured? Lucy looked down at her coffee cup. It had grown cold again. My coffee got cold, sir. That is the only casualty on our side. Another long pause. Brutus? Performed exactly as expected, sir. Park exhaled slowly. I am sending reinforcements to your position. They will arrive within 18 hours. I am also transmitting a priority message to the Galactic Council regarding Kethri slave operations in our sector. The refugee, Shira, has been granted immediate asylum under human protection. Shira made a small sound of relief. Lucy looked back at her and nodded. Double quotes. Thank you, sir, Lucy said. Grant. Park's voice was serious now. When you write your report, keep it factual. No embellishment. Just the facts. Understood, sir. And Grant? Good work. The communication ended. Lucy turned back to find Shira crying quietly. The young Villari's shoulders shook with sobs she had been holding back since she arrived. It is over, Lucy said gently. You are safe now. The Kethri cannot touch you anymore. I was so afraid, Shira whispered. For 3 years, I lived in fear. Every day, I thought it would be my last. I watched others disappear. I heard the screams. I never thought I would escape. And when I did, I never thought I would be free. I thought they would find me. They always find the ones who run. Not this time. Shira looked up at Lucy with tear-filled eyes. Why? Why did you protect me? You do not know me. I am nothing to you. A stranger. An alien from a species you have never met. Why would you risk your life for me? Lucy considered the question. It was a good question. Many species in the galaxy would not have answered the same way she did. Many would have surrendered Shira to avoid conflict. Many would have decided that one refugee was not worth dying for. Because you asked for help, Lucy said finally. And because I could give it. That is all? That is all. Shira wiped her eyes. She looked at Brutus, who had walked over to sit beside Lucy. The warhound's tail wagged slowly as he looked at the Villari with gentle eyes. May I touch him? Shira asked quietly. Lucy nodded. Shira reached out slowly. Her hand trembled as it approached the massive head. Brutus waited patiently, not moving. When her fingers finally touched his fur, she let out a small gasp. He is warm, she said. And soft. I did not expect that. He likes having his ears scratched, Lucy said. Shira scratched behind Brutus's ears. The warhound's tail wagged faster. He leaned into her touch, just as he had leaned into Lucy's touch earlier. How can he be so gentle? Shira asked. After what I saw him do. Lucy looked at her companion with love in her eyes. Because that is what the bond is. Protection and gentleness. Violence and peace. He would tear apart anyone who threatens the people he loves. But to those people, he is the kindest creature in the galaxy. Shira continued to pet Brutus. The fear in her eyes was slowly being replaced by something else. Wonder, perhaps. Or gratitude. Thank you, she said. Both of you. Thank you for saving my life. Brutus wagged his tail and licked her hand. Lucy smiled and went to make more coffee. The recording spread across the galactic networks within 3 days. Station 14 had standard security cameras. They captured everything. The arrival of the hunters. The confrontation. Lucy calmly sipping her coffee while she faced down five-armed Kethri. And then the moment when Brutus moved, the video was grainy and the audio was imperfect, but the message was clear. A young human female, barely out of adolescence, had stood her ground against elite predators, and her companion had destroyed them all in less than 2 minutes. The galaxy watched, and the galaxy began to talk. In the great chamber of the Galactic Council, representatives from 100 species gathered to discuss the incident. The Kethri delegation had demanded an emergency session. They wanted justice. They wanted compensation. They wanted the human responsible to be punished. Ambassador Daniel Cole stood at the human podium, his expression calm and patient. He had been a diplomat for 30 years. He had seen many things, but even he had been surprised by the recording from Station 14. "This is an outrage," the Kethri representative hissed. "5 of our citizens were murdered by a human attack animal. We demand the creature be destroyed. We demand the human responsible be extradited to face trial in our courts." Cole waited for the outburst to finish before responding. The individuals in question entered human territory without permission. They threatened a human citizen with lethal force. They attempted to kidnap a refugee who had been granted asylum under human protection. Under these circumstances, the response was entirely justified. Justified? They were torn apart by a monster. They were stopped by a companion animal defending its bonded partner. This is well within human rights and galactic law. The Kethri representative turned to the rest of the council. "Fellow delegates, you have seen the recording. You have seen what this creature did. Are we to accept that humans keep such monsters as pets? Are we to allow them to walk freely among civilized species?" A murmur ran through the chamber. Many delegates had indeed seen the recording. Many had been disturbed by what they witnessed. The speed of the attack, the efficiency of the killing, the complete calm of the young human as death happened around her. A delegate from the Valari spoke up. Her voice was soft but clear. "The Kethri speak of monsters, but it was the Kethri who operated slave camps. It was the Kethri who hunted our people. The young woman they tried to capture had been held in their breeding facilities for 3 years. If anyone is a monster here, it is not the human or her companion." The chamber erupted in discussion. The evidence of Kethri slave operations had been transmitted along with the incident report. Many species who had suspected such activities now had proof. Cole waited for the noise to settle. "If I may address the Council's concerns about our companion animals." The chamber fell quiet. Earth is what your scientists call a death world. Our planet is filled with dangerous creatures, extreme weather, and harsh conditions. Humanity did not survive by being the strongest or the fastest. We survived by forming alliances, by working together. And the first alliance we formed millions of years before we had language or tools was with the ancestors of our companion animals. He paused, letting his words sink in. The bond between humans and our companions is not something we created. It is something that evolved naturally over countless generations. They protected our children. They hunted beside us. They died for us. And we did the same for them. This relationship is written into our very genes. It cannot be trained. It cannot be forced. It simply is. The Kethri representative interrupted. "We are not here for a history lesson. We are here to discuss the murder of 5 Kethri citizens. 5 Kethri hunters who entered human space without permission, threatened a human citizen, and attempted to kidnap someone under human protection," Cole corrected. "These are not citizens. These are criminals, and they face the consequences of their actions. We demand. You demand nothing." Cole's voice hardened. "The Kethri Dominion has been operating slave camps across neutral space. You have been hunting sentient beings for sport and profit. This council now has proof of your activities. If anyone should be making demands, it is not you." The chamber was silent. Cole softened his tone. "But I understand that many delegates may be concerned about the nature of our companion animals. So let me be clear. Yes, some of our bonded creatures are large and powerful. Yes, they are capable of extreme violence when their partners are threatened. But they are not monsters. They are protectors." He looked around the chamber at the various alien faces. Humanity has 30 million bonded pairs. Most of them are calm, gentle creatures who live quiet lives with their human partners. They play with children. They comfort the sick. They provide companionship to the lonely. Violence is not their purpose. Protection is. A delegate from the Merkith Collective raised a limb. "Ambassador Cole, I have a question. The recording shows the human drinking a beverage while the attack occurred. She appeared completely unconcerned. Is this normal behavior?" Cole allowed himself a small smile. "Cadet Grant has a particular fondness for coffee. I am told she was quite upset that it grew cold during the incident." Nervous laughter rippled through the chamber. "But to answer your question more seriously, yes. Humans who are bonded with their companions often display remarkable calm in dangerous situations. The bond provides a sense of security that is difficult to explain to those who have not experienced it. Cadet Grant knew that she was protected. She knew that Brutus would not let anything harm her. So she was able to remain calm." The Kethri representative made one final attempt. "We formally protest this incident. We demand compensation for the loss of our citizens." Cole shook his head slowly. "Your protest is noted, but compensation will not be provided. Your hunters entered human space illegally. They threatened human citizens. They died for it. This is not murder. This is consequences." He leaned forward slightly. "And I would strongly advise the Kethri Dominion to remember this incident in the future. Because Cadet Grant is one of our calmest bonded humans. Most are not so patient. Most do not give warnings before they act." The protest was officially withdrawn the following day. 1 month later, Lucy Grant returned to Earth on leave. She walked through the central spaceport with Brutus at her side. Alien travelers pressed against the walls to let them pass. Conversation stopped. Eyes followed them. Lucy did not notice. She was thinking about home, about her parents, about the small house in Colorado where she had grown up, about the coffee her mother made every morning. Not as good as the Colombian beans she preferred, but comforting in its familiarity. A young alien child pointed at Brutus. The child was from a feathered species that Lucy did not recognize. "Mother, what is that creature? It is so big." The mother pulled the child close, her feathers flattening with fear. "Hush, do not draw attention." Lucy stopped walking. She looked at the child, who stared back at her with wide, curious eyes. "His name is Brutus," Lucy said gently. "He is my best friend." The child's fear transformed into wonder. "Can I pet him?" The mother tried to pull the child away, but Lucy knelt down and smiled. "Of course you can. He loves meeting new people." The child approached slowly and reached out a small feathered hand. Brutus sat perfectly still, his tail wagging. When the tiny fingers touched his fur, the child laughed with delight. "He is soft. Mother, he is so soft." Other travelers had stopped to watch. They saw the massive warhound sitting patiently while an alien child petted him. They saw the gentle expression in his eyes. They saw his tail wagging, and they began to understand. This was not a monster. This was a companion, a protector, a creature whose entire existence was devoted to loving and defending the beings he was bonded to. Lucy stood up and continued walking. Brutus walked beside her, his shoulder brushing against her leg. The crowd parted before them, But now there was less fear in their eyes. Now there was something closer to respect. The galaxy was learning. Slowly, one encounter at a time, they were beginning to understand what humanity had brought with them from their death world: loyalty, love, and 800 pounds of consequences for anyone who threatened it. Lucy smiled and scratched behind Brutus's ears. "Let's go home, boy." His tail wagged faster. They walked out of the spaceport together into the warm sunshine of Earth.